One. And hello, this is Road to
Hello.
Recovery, and we are live once again. Today we are going to do the group chat, and I'm going here to have a conversation here with Jake. And Jake is in the process of recovery, and we're just going to have a frank conversation about, what it's like going through recovery, some of the comments, concerns, struggles, and, the history of what's been going on with Jake. So, Jake, I'm going to hand the floor over to you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Just another day, another lovely day.
Jake, you don't sound like you're doing so well on the
No, my chest is a bit, a bit, the chest is a bit congested. I think it's those jabs I took. Just one sickness after another. But I'm trying to, you fight on through it and stay fit and whatnot. But hopefully, I can just get there. I just finished off. I'm going from one sickness to another, but hopefully it should soon reside.
Good. I hope the best for you. I mean, I can understand. It seems like we've all been going through some sort of physical struggle with this illness that's been going around the world. And I wanted you to just, start off, maybe just, give us an introduction about, who you are and, why you're here today, and, kind of lead us off into, what brings you in today.
Yes. So, yeah. So, yes. I just, I'm just looking to help people in any way that I can by sharing my story and and what I went through and how I was exposed to this addiction and ways that uh, things that I put in place to help me combat this addiction and um, to just maybe share my story, and maybe just to share my story and help other people, help as much people as I can out there, you I thought that, growing up, I thought, oh, it's, it's just me, it's just me. Maybe there's, something wrong with me, but then I had realized, as I got older that that there was other people that struggle with it. there's fuck my chest. There's other people that struggle with the same addiction, but it took me a long time to actually realize this, and as I was growing up, you sort of learn things and whatnot, So I'm thinking about uh, maybe if I can start from the very beginning and share my story and how all this started.
Fantastic. Yeah. Take us back to the beginning. I mean, how long you've been struggling with this? Where did it all start?
So currently, I've been struggling for this for almost 20 years. It, it all started when I was around about the age of 12. Just one of those ones where when I was younger, it was me, my two, sorry, me, my older brother, and my older brother, and my older brother's a lot older than myself, and uh, I think it was one of those ones where magazines under the mattress and whatnot, and I just remember one day I was my brother was on holiday with his friends, and me, me and my friends were just young teenagers, playing games and whatnot, and we were just looking around the house and around my house and just messing around, and then uh, uh, I'd I was we all had a quick look in my older brother's room, like usually I would never go in my brother's room, just now and again, and then I just noticed like as I walked out of the room, I noticed a little crease, as if something sticking out of the mattress. And then when I lifted up the mattress, I seen a whole stash of magazines, and I thought, oh, what's this? And then, as young teenagers, we're all sitting laughing over it and whatnot, and looking at it. And then, from that point on, you know, uh, you know, being young, the curiosity, curiosity killed the cat. you know, from that point on, then, it just, it was like an inkling at at the back, at the back of my head, and then and anytime my older brother would come back and then he would go out with his friends or whatnot, or go out and go out with his friends, me and my friends would be in my house, and then we would sneak in and look at the magazines and whatnot. Just young teenagers just messing around and just but um, never never did I think at all that that would spiral out of control in the way it did, as I got older and whatnot, and then, I got on the internet and whatnot, and then, one, two, three clicks, and then you can start, you can access these XXX sites and whatnot, and I was just down the rabbit hole from that point on, it gradually got worse and worse and worse as the years went on, but, um, it's this cough. Um, yeah, just to have a little think here. Um, yeah, so as me and my friends got older, 16, 17, meeting girls and whatnot, and uh, my addiction sort of began to slowly, increase and whatnot, as soon as I realized that, oh, you can access this stuff, online, that was just like, like a whole different, it's like, the internet was like, the internet was like, well, just a second, the internet was just like Pandora's box, and there's that many categories and whatnot and stuff when you access sites, and uh, it just, at that young age, it's just, um, I realized at that young age, like, when I look back, when I look back, when I look back on it, I realized that, uh, not knowing the amount that you're exposed to, it's absolutely unbelievable. The amount of content that's out there. And um, yeah. So over time, the addiction got worse and worse and worse, and I would say in my mid 20s, from like 25 to 30, would have been between early 20s to mid 20s would have been my worst period of it all. Um,
Jake,
so
describe what worse looks like. I mean, when you say worse, how was that looking?
uh, um, absolutely horrendous, really bad. I mean, it would get to the point where uh, it would be, maybe um, 3 or 4 times a day for weeks and months on end. Sometimes, yeah. So when I was deep in, when I'm really sorry about this cough. It's really bad, and I just like a few weeks ago I've been to the doctors and to give me amoxicillin, and I went through the course and took the amoxicillin. It was all better, and then 4 weeks later another cough has came back. So it just seems like one sickness after another, and
Sure.
today's it's really playing up.
And take your time
Yeah.
if you
So
need to. If we need to take breaks, it's fine, man.
okay. So yes. So the frequency became between between the ages of 20 to 25. It would become extreme. It would get really out of hand. It would get to the point where not only would I be watching it frequently on a daily basis, but it would even start to affect my courses. It even get to the point where I would I would do my coursework at home, but then I would think, oh right, as a reward because because I've done I've done all my coursework. Oh, as a reward, I would I would look at that. I would look at pornography sites, but it would get to the point where it's almost like so that's the way it would go. Like um, uh, yeah. The frequency of me looking at it would become worse and worse, and for many months, and even because I spent 5 years after secondary school doing IT courses, at an institute, and as I was growing up with my friends, I have two very, very close friends that 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 I have two very close friends that know about my addiction, but they're lifelong friends, and growing up, I had their take on it was Jake, there's nothing wrong with you, like it's only natural, it's only human, men, we're all all males, we're all men, look at pornography once in a while, and it's normal, you know, all go away once you meet a girl or once you start going steady with a girl and you're in a relationship, it'll all go away. So I was in that I kept thinking, you know, like I kept thinking, oh, I don't really have an addiction. Whenever I find the right girl, it will all go away and stuff. So, I started believing this so much. But obviously, when I look back on it now, I was living in denial. And this would oh, I can see,
Yeah.
yes, back on. Uh, it would get really bad. That this would go on for months and years, and I would think, oh, whenever I meet a girl, or whenever I meet a girl, and I would meet, when I at that young age, I would meet girls and whatnot, and see them for a few weeks and whatnot, and then you know, I haven't had, I've had a good number of long term relationships with girls, but for whatever reason, it would for whatever reason I don't know, she would just just sometimes she would say, oh look, Jake, I'm just not really feeling it, or whatever it is, and um, oh, you've gone off again. Yeah. Uh, so I'm just trying. So yes, for me, I think that this addiction has affected every aspect of my life, every part of it. But through the process from when I started to now, um, for a very long time, I would start lying to myself and be in denial about it, and I would start justifying how that it's normal and whatnot, and like for a very long time, I actually believed that I wasn't addicted and I didn't have an addiction, but
Mm.
in reality, I did. In reality, I did. There was definitely an underlying issue there, definitely, and I feel that um, my relationship with one of my parents, so growing up, my mum, my mum and father, there's four of us in the family. I have a sister and two brothers. We were all brought up equally. There was nothing wrong there. Parents brought us up absolutely fine. Well mannered, good children. Parents treat us fairly. However, whenever I reached 9, my parents divorced, and uh, my, my dad stayed in England, and my mother and myself and my brothers and sister, we've moved back over to Northern Ireland, where my mother's from, and I think, like, now when I look back on it, that's when this addiction started. Whenever my parents divorced, I moved back, and then when I was 12, fast forward a few years later, I seen me and my friends had seen the magazines, and then from that point on, that was that. From that point on, that is when the addiction slowly started to fester, and then and then gradually get worse. But um, throughout my life, from the time that my parents divorced to the time that to even present day now, um, uh, my father was never really in my life much. It's like when my parents divorced, you know, he just had to switch off, in terms of looking after his children, or spending time with us, or just I never really had a father figure in my life at all, really.
Yeah.
it's like my dad just switched off, and like he almost like he abandoned us, you know. And obviously at that young age, I'm growing up, and I think that a part of him not being in my life, and as a father shows his child, confidence and whatnot, and how to become a man and whatnot, and just being there and whatnot, and spending time, and because my father had never, was never there, and just that he had the one night switch off and was never there, and just basically had no contact with us, I've built a lot of resentment for that, and it's almost like I feel as if the pornography is like an outlet. So I'm crying deep down. I'm crying inside. I'm crying out for help deep down. Because my father was never in my life. From a very young age, and I believe that has obviously affected me in a way. Oh, I can see now it's back up again. So I believe that by my father not, not being in my life, it's had some sort of knock-on effect as to why I'm trying to uh, I believe that because he hasn't really been in my life, I'm not sort of blaming him in a way at all, but I think that things may have been different in the way things have worked out, and to this day, I don't really speak to my father, I just you know that's just maybe a time for another story, but back to the addiction, uh, um, yeah, so basically, so I think because my dad was a constant letdown, in my life, and that's obviously had, you know, uh, um,
An impact for sure.
yes, sorry, yes, definitely an impact for sure. Definitely has impacted my life, even as a young boy from that age growing up, and definitely has an impact. And uh, my mother, she's a complete opposite to my father. She's always there for us and did everything, and she more or less brought us all up as a single mother, and uh, um, yeah. So I think that a lot of stuff, so not only with my dad, constant break, the constant letdowns and broken promises and whatnot, and you know, with a friendship or even with a father, with a son and the fathership, I believe that trust is a number one thing, and if the trust is broken, then that just crushes the relationship, and because my father broke many promises, this has obviously definitely broke a lot of trust between me and him, and again that makes me want nothing to do with him, and I believe that it's almost like I'm suffering inside, and therefore the pornography is like an outlet, an outlet for me,
Yeah.
so whenever I'm having a bad day or feeling depressed or having a bad day at work or even just a bad day in general, I just sort of all click, click, click on the website, whenever I have free time. And that's like my reward, It's, you almost like, yeah,
It's your escape,
um,
right? It's the way
yeah,
it's the way that you
definitely.
could escape
Yeah,
the harsh realities of the
but
world.
yeah,
At
definitely.
at your peak, when you would describe your addiction as being at its worst, um, in addition to just frequency, were you experiencing other, I would say, side effects of the usage that you were doing?
Uh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, so definitely. First side effects that I experienced would have been, you know, me personally, I think that,
Jake, could you bring the microphone up just closer?
oh, no problem. So for me personally, the other side effects would be like um, thinking, my cognitive thinking, almost like it was like I felt that whenever I would speak to friends or whatnot, or even trying to focus on something,
Right.
that my cognitive thinking, it's like it was clouded, clouded, and another something would be I would feel very lethargic and very tired, and even from the point where whenever I'm looking at it and then I stop for a few days, or even a week, I'm still having like symptoms, feeling tired and feeling, and I can't think straight. And what would really help me, another symptom that I now have, and I think that as you get older as a man, it becomes worse. And the symptom I have is like anytime when anytime, when obviously anytime like after it's been done, then uh, my, my next day is completely destroyed. It's completely impacted. It's more or less like I've gone out the night before for a massive drink, and then the next day I wake up with an absolute massive hangover. It's almost like the next day is completely destroyed, and I feel like as if I'm hungover because I'm that tired and I'm that you know uh, my focus is out the window. It's completely out the window, and I've more or less set myself self up for disaster, and it's affecting my work. And I think that, obviously even like driving to work. Like when I look back, when I think about it, I'm thinking not only am I putting myself at risk, but I'm putting others at risk as well when I'm driving because I'm tired and I'm exhausted, and for the session the night before, and the whole day be the whole day is ruined, and then it takes me about 2 days to sort of recover and come around to myself. And I feel as if from 25 to 30, especially in my 30s now, I'm 30 at the minute, and it's just that I feel that that's just the way it is. And then and then uh, uh, at this time now, at this point, I think to myself, well, if it's sorry about this coughing.
It's okay.
Um, I sort of think to myself, um, you know, I have to give this up. I have to give this up. I need to stop. It's completely destroying my life, and I'm being hungover. It's almost like a heavy night of drinking. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this to my body? And I know in my heart it's killing and it's crushing my soul. And like when I look back on it, I wish I was never exposed to it in the first place. I wish I had never seen that magazine. You know, but mainly mainly what helps me to maintain this addiction or to stay off it long term, even a few days or a few weeks or a few months, is what works for me is fitness, is working out and going running and stuff. And I'm a very determined individual when it comes to like tasks or coursework or work. I'm very determined to get the task done, and I think that I apply my discipline and I apply my discipline to when I'm working out and stuff, and working out and running, it really helps me to be able to cope a 1,000% better. We focus more, and my willpower is a lot stronger, But I know in my heart, for me to beat this addiction, I cannot do it by myself. I can't do it by myself. Uh, I need God in my life as well, and I need to build a relationship a lot better with God, and I need Him in my life uh, to help me get through this. And um, sometimes, whenever I'm tackling it and trying to go off it, sometimes I would go off for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks straight, and then I would go, I would relapse for about a week or so, and then I would go back at it again, and I might do good for about a month or so. But what where I find I lack him is at night time whenever I go to bed and I'm trying to get a good night's sleep. Sometimes I'll get a good night's sleep and then I'll wake up at about maybe like 12 or 1 in the morning all of a sudden, and it's almost I just feel like I just feel as if like demons are attacking me, and I just get an urge, an absolute urge. But in my mind, I know that that's the demons, tempting me, and just just to to carry it out, and whenever whenever so, so whenever I'm working out and going running and keeping that up, my willpower is a lot stronger. And whenever I pray and whatnot and build my relationship with God, it becomes a lot stronger, and it be, it helps me to be able to refrain from going back to that, and it helps me better. It helps me to say, Jake, no, no, just go to bed, just go to bed, no, just go to bed, and I would pray to God and say, look, in Jesus' name, demons go with me, and this would really help, and then I would fall asleep. I remember there's been 2 points in my life where there was one time where I went 3 months straight without not looking at it. But during this period, I was doing a lot of running, a lot of working out every day, every week. So by doing that activity after work, it would really help me to completely stay away from it.
Mm.
But you know, in my mind's eye, uh, in my mind's eye, I feel as if oh, it's only a matter of time before you're going to go back to it. I'm trying to go off it for at least 6 months to a year. I feel as if it's a never ending battle, and there's been 2 points in my life where I was absolutely just fed up, fed up with looking at it. And the first point was when I was in my mid 20s, and basically it was where I was watching pornography so much that I was just so far gone, and I was completely out of control with this consumption of looking at it. And I actually got absolutely just. I stopped watching for about 3 months straight because I was so sick and exhausted of looking at it. And you know, I think that was my soul just absolutely burnt out, exhausted. And I thought to myself, this has to stop. And uh, you know, like um, I think I don't know what it was, but for about a good 3 months, I did stop looking at it, and um, you know, I remember with pornography, I was at that time, I was looking at so much, and because I was so exhausted, as well as downloading it and whatnot as well, and the amount of content that I had, the way when you have a folder, the scroll bar, the scroll bar,
Yeah.
my scroll bar was extremely thin, very very thin,
So you'd have
so
to go keep scrolling till you get to the end of it.
basically I had so much content downloaded on there that on my hard drives that. Uh, I wouldn't have enough time in the whole world for the rest of my life to go through it all watching it,
I know that
and
feeling. Yeah.
yes, that's how bad it was, and that was me when I was at my absolute depth, when I was really when I was really just deep in it really, and at that point I thought to myself, I have to stop this. I seriously have a really bad addiction, and I really thought, no, this has to stop. It's I have to stop this. My life has to change, and it was only when I realised the amount of content that I had at that time. Like one day, I was just looking at the folder, and I looked at the bar and I realised, and I thought that's when the realisation happened. I thought, no, this has to stop. I have to stop this. And then for about 3 months straight, I went completely off it. Obviously, doing my working out and whatnot was a great tool to help me get away from that.
What
And
was it? What was the tool again?
sorry, the great tool to help me get away. Sorry, the the great tool which helped me get away from it was working out. By
Oh,
me
okay.
working out and going for runs and stuff, it really helped me to. It helped my willpower, and to me, it helped me to refrain from looking at it. And the second point in my life, which was basically so a second point in my life, which is where I stopped looking at it for a very long time, was basically I'd met this girl, and uh, basically this girl was the love of my life. Absolutely beautiful, absolute job tech, gorgeous, and basically uh, one night me and my twin brother, it was my cousin's birthday, So we went to my cousin's birthday party, and then I ended up meeting one of the girls there. But this, oh my god, like this girl, the minute I walked into the room, my jaw just dropped. I was an absolute awe, like her beauty, how beautiful she was, and her personality, and like like basically, it was like summer love, It was like I just wanted to get on my knees and marry this girl. She's absolutely like top dead gorgeous, And this is when I was young in my twenties, and like I was so fixated on this girl, I was so obsessed with her. She was so beautiful, and uh, this my cousins they had lived uh, uh, down past Belfast that direction, and then and after 2 weeks, then whenever me and my twin brother came back up home, you know, from that point, with my addiction. From meeting that girl, uh, I never looked at porn for like a good at least another 3 months. I never looked at porn for another 3 months straight because I was so obsessed and so wanting to meet that girl again and trying to have a relationship with her, But obviously as time goes on and whatnot, and basically she wasn't really interested in me, but I was really interested in her, And but this is going back a good number of years now, and just it is what it is. But I'm just trying to really, really just kick this habit, and I believe that I need to start building my relationship with God, and I personally believe that um, because I think that what I find hardest is giving it up. I find it very hard to give it up, and I know in my heart that if I raise all that porn, just erase it all, that I know that will be the start of me getting better. And I know in my mind's eye, once I erase that, then that's it. It's almost like I can breathe and I can start, building a relationship with God and kicking this habit for good,
Yep.
and start working on myself. I've been meaning to do a body transformation, and I just keep procrastinating and procrastinating and procrastinating, and I'm just trying to really just kick this habit. But I think I really wish that in my town there was PAA meetings, like like my I do know that there's alcohol anonymous meetings, but I'd never been to an AA meeting before, so I don't really know how it works, and I'd be very like I think I don't think I would be confident enough to maybe go to a meeting and speak to like the host there and ask them if there's any like PA meetings in the city, yeah, I was just thinking, is there any advice you can give me so for me to find out about any PA meetings that could be going on within the region of Northern Ireland or even in my city?
Well, one thing that I can tell you straight up, and this is from my own personal perspective, when I decided that enough was enough, and it was because literally I got in trouble. That's what caused me to have to change everything. When I made that decision, somebody that I know that was in my family had guided me to a center that was nearby for me that hosted not only AA, but also hosted other groups like SLAA, which is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, which gladly takes in porn addicts. But the first
Mm-hmm.
thing I did is I went to an AA meeting, and I went to an AA meeting with him. And so that was my introduction to this is what it's like inside of an AA meeting. And the great thing about being in an AA meeting is you can walk in there, you can say, "Hi, my name is I'm an addict," or whatever your case happens to be. And
Yeah.
you walk in and you sit inside of the room and you just don't say anything, you just listen. And you're going to hear conversations from all the other people that are in the room. They'll be telling their stories and what their struggles currently are, and
Mm-hmm.
that's your introduction to this is what it's like sitting inside of this type of room. And you're going to hear the spirituality of the room because a lot of these people went through some deep turmoil, and you're getting exposed to what it's like to have to share and to have that sort of communication. So I'm all for, if you want to walk into that AA meeting, go for it. Just introduce yourself as an addict and stop at that. You don't have to say anything else, and you don't have to talk through the entire meeting. um,
Mm-hmm.
if you go to any of these big organizations, SLAA, SAA, PAA, SA, regardless of which one you choose. Um, on their website, you will find a calendar, and that calendar is based on geolocation. So you can find meetings anywhere. And some of those meetings are on Zoom, some of those meetings are, on like Google Meet. Some of them are using more modern things like Discord. You can get onto a Discord channel and go to a meeting there. So I highly recommend those. Those are fine ways of being able to do the communication, and you can talk to people from around the world. When I was still going to online SLAA meetings, we were talking to people from different time zones from all over the world.
Uh-huh.
Um, I personally recommend that if you have the opportunity to try to get into a face-to-face meeting. I think you
Uh-huh.
get more out of it from doing that. But if you don't have that opportunity, go to an online meeting. The second thing I
Uh-huh.
would say is that I just 3 weeks ago had decided that I wanted to go back to this community center that I was working inside of and
Uh-huh.
start my own meeting. Then the reason why is because when COVID hit, it eliminated the face-to-face meetings that we had. Everybody wanted to go online because they were afraid of getting sick. And the group
Mm-hmm.
that I was a part of was such a really strong community. They didn't want to go back to the rooms, and I had shared with them many times. It's like, I don't know if I would have gotten as much out of it had I not been going face to face. It's like it's okay, like
Mm-hmm.
it's convenient for me to get online now and talk to you guys. That's because it's easy. I know all of you. For the new person
Uh-huh.
who comes in, they don't get that same sort of connection that when you're meeting face to
Yes.
face. So what I did is I stopped going to the SLAA online meeting and I started my own PAA group. And they're very similar, Jake. So it was
Mm-hmm.
easy. I could just jump in. All I had to do was print out the materials. And in order to start a face-to-face meeting, you only need two people. You only need two
All
people.
right.
So if you can find another person that's suffering from the same addiction, you guys can agree on a time. Just
Uh-huh.
you can go to almost any church organization, and you say, "I'm looking at starting a 12-step program. Can you host? Can we have a hosted room?" And they'll say yes or no. And if they say yes, they
Mm-hmm.
may ask, "Could you pitch in?" Like they might ask for a small nominal dollar amount. And all you do is every time you host a meeting, you have a little basket. You drop in, however much money you can afford, and that's what you
Uh-huh.
give back to the church for the privilege of using their room. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
requires. And
Right.
you can get the big book for that program. And in PAA's case, they use the SAA big book. Fantastic big book. And as a porn addict, when you read through that, so much will relate to you. Highly
Yes.
recommend that. And that's
Yeah.
how it starts. And once you start those meetings, you contact the big organization, regardless of what organization you came from, SLAA, SAA, PAA. You go back to them and say, "I am starting a face-to-face meeting. Here is the location and here's the time," and they'll put it on their calendar. And that's how other people will
Mm-hmm.
find you.
Right. Yes. I'll definitely be looking into that. I just think I think like the first step for me is to you know it's like I feel as if uh, I'm so afraid to make that first step. It's like I'm so embarrassed that for other people finding out, especially like people that would know me, and I think it's something personal with myself, like with my my mother's a recovering alcoholic, and she goes to AA meetings, and like for me to open up to her and to reveal and tell her that I have this addiction, it's almost like it would break me. But I also think that for me to even start mending or truly seriously getting better, like I think if I can maybe let her maybe confine and let her know, and maybe she might be able to help me put me in the right direction, or same as you were saying there about starting my own meeting, But I just I thought of something that I wanted to say there as well, but it's gone out of my head. But when it comes back, I'll definitely bring it up. But it's something to do with myself. I just I think uh, I think I have a lot of shame, in this addiction I have, and I think that's why I'm so embarrassed to sort of maybe open up. and tell people like there's only two people that know about my addiction was is my close brother, my twin brother, and one of my very close friends. And um, uh, uh, for a very long time, I thought it was just me that I have this problem, and I, I even sometimes feel when I'm in public with like friends or in women, or even going on nights out with friends and whatnot, I feel as if whenever I'm in conversation with women, that I just sense that it's almost like I feel as if they can sense that I'm a bit offish. That there's something isn't really sitting right about with that person. They can just almost sense it. They can just sense that. Like obviously with my addiction, I feel as if I just think it comes down to I just think it comes down to your your vibe, and I think whenever with this addiction, every time I'm indulging in pornography, it's killing my vibe. It's killing my
Your confidence.
you know happiness and confidence. Yeah, it's completely just it's destroying it. And I almost feel as if they can feel that they just feel that
Yeah.
Whereas the longer I stay off it, and stay away from it, then my confidence comes back. Yes, I'll definitely want to be looking into a meeting and going to the church and doing what you were saying about your advice.
Well, it
Um,
sounds, Jake, like you've actually started the legwork on some things, and the thing that you did by confiding in your brother and confiding into one of your friends, it's a strong recovery point because what you're doing is you're finally saying, I can't live with this alone. That I need to
mhm,
talk about this. And one of the things that we try to do, I'm a sponsor for many people who have gotten into program and are needing guidance. That's what a sponsor does. One of the
mhm,
things we strongly recommend is they call it the 90 and 90. And what you try to do is you try to attend 90 meetings in 90 days. Now, most people can't pull it off. It's just because you have to work and that sort of thing. But
yes.
you try to go to as many meetings as you can in a short period of time. And what it does is it breaks the shame cycle that's holding you down right now. You just confess that you don't want to share this because you feel like your pride is like, and the shame that comes along with the addiction is holding you
Yeah.
back. What the 90 and 90 tries to accomplish is it gets you comfortable with telling your story. And you've done a beautiful job today. And I'm a complete
Mhm,
stranger to you. But I think the reason why you're comfortable right now is because you know you're talking to another addict. And
yes.
it's
Yeah.
easier to have that conversation with somebody who might relate to you. Um, and
Yes. Definitely.
and I would say that you keep this going on by constantly engaging other people who you feel like you're going to be comfortable with. And the only way you're going to do
Mhm,
that is to get into program. And you may want to even try out several programs. Try SLAA out. Go to a few online meetings. Go try
uh-huh,
SAA out. Try PAA out. Go to all of them. Like
mhm.
just dip your toes in lots of different places and see what feels comfortable to you.
Yeah. I definitely will be doing that. Um, is it, you were saying there as well before the meeting that is there like a group that I can uh, join in with like over people you were saying about.
Yeah, all the meetings, every single one of those large organizations have
Mhm.
online meetings all over the world. So you could,
Yeah.
at any time get off of a meeting, there's probably, or off of work, there's probably a meeting someplace in the world going on, like right now. And you can go to
Oh
their
yes.
calendar and just try to find out what that
Okay.
time is, and you
Yes.
just click into the Zoom meeting. And some groups will say, okay, you have to click here in order to get the password in order to get into this group. You just follow whatever their process is, right?
Yes.
But
No problem.
just go through that process and try to jump in on a meeting. And I would say, do yourself a favor, take 2 weeks and try to hit at least 3 meetings of different
Yes.
organizations and see how you feel about every single one of them. And I can tell you the ones
Yeah.
that I just gave you
Yeah.
four: SAA, PAA, SLAA, SA, all of those except porn addicts, every single one of them.
Yes.
So, you're not, you will find a meeting of like-minded groups. Some of the
Yeah.
organizations, for me personally, when I went to my local SLAA meeting, I'd say like
Hmm.
30% of them were like porn addicts when I walked in the door. So
Hmm.
a majority of the people in the room were not. Some of them were just love addicts, which is the problem with SLA is that you get a large grouping of people that kind of merge together that have different sort of, their addiction kind of goes from on a spectrum. It goes from either love or sex, right? So a porn addict's probably more on the sex side, but you'll get some
Yes.
love addicts in there. You'll get some people that are both, and you'll have like the solid sex addict. And it
Uh-huh.
was actually good for me being in that meeting because what I discovered listening from that is that even the people that were way on the love addict side of things
Hmm.
had the same root problems. It's just that I happened to fall into a situation where pornography I had access to, but these other people didn't, or they were just more like they had exposure to other people and their addiction manifested and being addicted to the aspects of falling in love, right? And
Yes.
so the addiction just manifests differently for them. But and as I heard it, it's like they had all the same problems I had in my upbringing. I was like, oh, I needed to be here. I needed to hear this.
Mm, yes, yes, definitely. It's like I mean, for a very long time, especially at a very young age, I actually thought, J- I actually believed, Jake. It's you, it's me, it's just me. It's just, you know, never did I think that anyone else, or even, there was people out there that have the same addiction, but as I grew up, became 18, 18, 19, in my twenties, I realised that, pornography is a thing and it's out there, and people do look at it, male and females do look at it, but I never thought that, the people would have addictions to it, but it's, um, uh, yeah, so uh, just trying to think here about anything.
Well, wait, I wanted
Um,
to ask you a question in relation when you were at
yeah.
the height of your addiction, right? So you mentioned the fact
Mhm.
that the lethargy was strong with you, like you felt fuzzy headed and sort of. Did you have any um, other problems that occupied the exact same space? Well, due to the cloudy headedness, this was happening in my life, or I was starting to feel more depressed. Was any of that coming along with it?
Well, I'm just thinking here. Yes, so basically, for me, what would happen would be, so because my mom, so I was living with my mother as well at that time. However, whenever my mother would drink and whatnot, again, because of my circumstances with my dad and whatnot, as well, my living with an alcoholic can be very draining at times and whatnot, and almost I would use pornography as an outlet at times. And so other symptoms that I would get, as well as the tiredness and dizziness, tiredness would be when I'm stressed out, whenever I get stressed out, or just trying to think here. Yes, even sometimes my moods would absolutely change. I would start getting severe, just trying to think of an example. Yes. So sometimes my moods would change. Sometimes I would be in a good mood, and then maybe 2 or 3 days later, I'd be in a very angry mood, and just be very moody with my mother and my spouses, and um, at the height of it, at the height of the pornography addiction, I would it was that bad that it's that bad that I would think, right, once I've looked at it, and once I've done the masturbation or whatever, uh, once I have that, I would prioritize that in front of everything that I had to do that day.
Yeah, that's the way that
Everything
was.
it's it's like that itself took over so much.
Mm.
I would put pornography in front of every fucking thing. Tasks, no matter what it is, right, I have to drive here and I have to do this, or it would jeopardize everything,
Mm.
Even I would even go so far as saying, I remember, yeah, I'll just come out and say it. Uh, I had to reset one of my maths GCSEs, and 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 nights before, I was looking at pornography, and this was before my a big test, and one day before, I was looking for pornography, and I should have been revising, and I put that. I got up, I got a good night's sleep. I woke up the next day, and then the little devil on your shoulders says, "Oh, go on," and then I thought, right, I'll just quickly be 10 or 15, 20 minutes, and then you're looking at you're looking at one thing in pornography, and then next minute you're looking at something else, and then you're looking at different categories, and then 1 hour leads into 4 hours, 10 hours.
Mm,
Next thing I know, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. The day is almost done, and I'm absolutely just and I'm thinking to myself, shit, I haven't done any revision, and my whole day is messed up. That day is completely gone, and then and then the night it just festered. Went under the maths test. Absolutely, did crap in the test. Just completely just destroyed that opportunity. And uh,
wow.
that happened so many times at that height of it. It was almost like like everything. I put it in front of every single thing, and it would always be no matter what it is, no matter what, if I'm going out for a meal with my family or whatever it is, and I would sometimes start telling lies to my friends about going out at the weekends. I would start lying to them. Oh, I don't feel too good, or oh, I have to do this. I'll start making up excuses as to why Jake can't go out, because I would put pornography in front of it. I would spend hours and hours and weeks of looking at it and putting everything off. Putting events off, putting this off, and living in denial, lying to people, lying to my mother, lying to my spouses, all, just, and that cycle just, even to this day, it's followed me, and it gets worse and worse and worse, you know, and
It's pretty powerful, Jake. I mean,
really,
loss of prioritization, loss of time, your inability to be able to confront what's going on in terms of the damage that you've caused for yourself. All of those are calling cards for addiction, man. And what you've just described in that very short period of time was a powerful testimony about why you need to stop.
yep, yep. I mean, it just takes over. Everything goes out the fucking window. Everything goes out the window, and I put it in front of everything, and it's just it's a very destructive addiction, and uh, it can happen to anyone. Um, I absolutely despise it, and I hate it. And when I look back, when I look at it, I think this thing that I'm doing is only bringing me temporary happiness, and it's not bringing me true happiness within myself, because after I've done the business and whatnot, I feel like crap. I feel like the depression starts setting in. I feel depressed. I hate myself. It even gets to the point where I don't even look at myself in the mirror anymore. I don't even look at myself in the mirror, because I can't stand the person I see in the mirror. And uh, you know, and my body language and my friends and whatnot, and being out and whatnot. I don't want to be seen by anybody. I stop going out. I stop. It's just absolutely very destructive. Like never in a million years, especially when I was very young, and I used to live in denial for like from like 16 to 18 for years. I would say, oh, it'll never help me. This addiction will never get worse. It'll never get worse. Oh, I'll just put it to one side. Oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. Oh, I'm just looking at pornography. I'm not bringing no harm to anyone. Oh, it's normal. All teenagers do it. All teenagers look at it, and I was living in denial, and little did I know it's manifesting inside, and it's slowly getting worse and worse. And I remember the days where I would say to myself, "Oh, this will never get out of hand. This will never get out of hand." Or I can control it. I can control it, and living in that denial. And um, really, I am. Really, I'm lying to myself. I'm kidding myself.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm really encouraged by is that you're taking, formative action right now. You're considering, joining a group. I wanted to ask you this question in regards to the shame that you're dealing with now. Have you had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to try to seeking some counseling for what you're going through on the shame side of things?
Um, to be no, no.
Because it'll be addressed. So you can address it through program. There's no matter what big book you pick up, whether it's SLA, SAA, PAA, it doesn't matter. All of those will deal with the aspects of shame that are going on. It can also help you to seek somebody that you could talk to, a professional counselor that can help you kind of
Mm-hmm.
unpack some of those things, because the more you talk about it, the more you can face it head on and get past it. Otherwise, it's going to be a detriment that you're going to be facing while you're trying to go through recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to throw that out there and have you think about it. Whether you do or don't, in program you'll be addressing it, but I sometimes think it's nice to have a person who is a professional at helping a person get through those sorts of things. And
Yeah.
if you can afford it, if you have it inside of your medical plan that you can get into a therapist office,
Mm-hmm.
I would bite the bullet on that and definitely do it.
Uh-huh. I'll definitely be looking into it. Yeah, I'll be looking into getting that because I think that professional help will definitely help me.
And
Definitely.
as you already have kind of a very small recovery network right now with your friend and
Yeah.
your twin brother, um, don't feel like you can't talk to those guys.
Yeah.
Just saying, hey, you're dealing with whatever is going on inside of your life at that current moment when the shame's like really kicking in, but you feel like you might be
Mm-hmm.
tempted to go back. Call them, just call them. And
Yeah.
if they know what you're going through right now, I'm sure they'll be happy to take the call.
Uh-huh. I mean, as well, like I was just thinking there. A thought just came into my head. I remember the days when I would spend like whenever I would do great, and I'd be off for about 4+ weeks. It would get to the point where you're out shopping and you see a girl around your own age, and I realise you know my eyes would I would lust of my eyes, checking the girl out and whatnot. But I realised whenever I was going off it and I was doing I was working out and whatnot and building a relationship with God, and in my heart right there and then I would know that Jake, you shouldn't be looking at her bum, or you shouldn't be looking and checking her out. I knew it was wrong, and then that's I would realize that's how the devil gets in. Any little crack he can to get in, and or even something as simple as a nice poster of a nice woman, wearing a bikini suit, or or even like an outfit that someone's wearing. It's, these little triggers, it's definitely you know these little it's like a trigger, and for me, uh, whenever I fall in the addiction, these little triggers, those little triggers, seeing an attractive woman or whatnot, and or me checking her out, it just, I end up just going back into it, and I remember I'd watched one of your videos, and you were talking about triggers, and uh, Uh, in my personal diary book, I wrote down triggers and what works best for me. But it's in my drawer, so it is. But I should just go back to it. But I can't remember now off by heart what the triggers were. But I definitely know that I do have triggers. I'm sort of at the minute. I'm not really thinking straight. Sort of in my head. My
It's
head's a
fine.
bit sore.
Just
But anyway.
just the knowing the fact that you're tracking your triggers is a great thing. And also, I
Mhm.
wanted to say just the very nature of what we go through sometimes. You know, the very nature of pornography, looking whether it's at the magazine, the paper magazine, or if it's like looking online. If we
Mhm.
were in real life and there was an actual woman who was there and there was never any pornography, you might take a passing glance and say, "Well, I'll check that out," but you wouldn't sit there and stare, right? And it
No.
wouldn't be followed by an orgasm, right? Like that whole process would have never happened. And so, as you just clearly stated, it becomes the triggering effect because you were so used to having the comfort of home or being in a
Yeah.
private location and being able to
Yeah.
stare at that screen, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the outside world now becomes your trigger to going back to the thing you wanted to do. And you have to
Yes.
do everything in your power to break that cycle. They call it the habit loop. You have to do everything in your power now to break the cycle. And as I've talked about in my videos, unfortunately, in the real world, there's triggers everywhere. Once we've developed this dependency, you're going to have to find the strength and plan ahead for how you're going to break that trigger. So now that you know that it exists, what do you do next? You're probably
Hmm.
going to get triggered again. It's summer's going to be coming up
Yeah.
soon. Women are going to be out there wearing skirts and stuff. Like, what do you do
Yeah.
next when you get triggered?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's an
Definitely. I
open-ended
mean,
question. You probably already have started developing plans, but that's what you've got to
yeah.
do.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, yeah. You've definitely got me thinking as well. So I'm thinking now, in future, when that does come up, right? What can I do to stop it, to cut it in its tracks? Um, even something as simple as TV adverts that we see. TV adverts. That's a killer for me at sometimes. And I think yeah, just simple TV advert. And I think the way I think, like, how much this world has changed. As opposed to the past 20 years and 2000s. And like I think there's some advertisements out there where you sort of think, that's a bit inappropriate. you know, and especially the music videos. The music videos nowadays are the worst.
Yeah.
You know. Mm, mm,
I grew up in the 80s, and I have to tell you, although the media around us has definitely changed, it tries to hit on the salacious aspect. There was a lot of salacious stuff even back then. They knew what they were going after. They want guys to pay attention.
Wow, God, they knew exactly what they were doing. Because I always thought that I always had it in my head that like in the 90s or 80s, because the internet wasn't really a big thing, that these guys and people folk back then just didn't have the tools or the access. But I know that VHS tips and whatnot, but I just never. I always assumed that it was never that bad. Even in like just in the 80s or 90s because you didn't have access. But as he.
Yeah, well, I was an early bloomer. I discovered the internet in the early 90s. So for me, there was the accessibility, just most people didn't have the skill set to get there.
Uh-huh.
But in the 80s, I could, in the town that I lived in, like guys were disgusting, man. They would just like throw magazines out the window, and you'd be as a child like driving out, taking your bike down the street, you would just find things discarded on the side of the street. Um,
God almighty.
so it was always there. It's just that I think the nature of high speed and portability now,
Mhm.
I feel terrible for this new generation because they can't escape it. It's like everywhere.
Yep, they're suffocated. They're absolutely just suffocating on it, And I mean, like we have smartphones where that's a computer right there in your phone. 2 clicks. All it takes is about 2 or 3 clicks, and you're straight on it.
Yep.
And to even enter those sites, all you need to do is hit a button. Yes, I'm 18. I'm 18. Boom. There you go. All that content, and yep, it's just so much accessible nowadays. I mean, I remember growing up with my friends, in their 20s. One day we were walking up the town one day. It was a Saturday afternoon, and we had came back from the town. And we were walking down this a road, a steep road. Houses. There was houses around it, and I'll never forget it. We seen a cover of a pornography DVD cover. But like in my city, like you would like we were absolutely shocked to see this piece of content on the because like people were very like they put stuff in the bin and whatnot, and we were just shocked to find that. Like it was just very very shocking. Obviously, we're sitting looking at it and laughing. As we're walking down the street, but it's yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that, as we're talking about this, we have the memories, of what it was
Yeah.
like to first encounter that material, and the memories of the exhilaration we feel even before we discovered maybe like what it was to have an orgasm, right? The sheer exhilaration of seeing something like that and holding it.
Mhm.
So there's two states of arousal that are happening. There's the early arousal period, and then there's the sexual arousal period. So the initial,
Yeah.
shock and awe that we experience, that's the early arousal period. And there's its own euphoric state that happens while we're in that initial, shock and awe period.
Mhm. Yeah.
The thing that you just talked about a few minutes ago, where you remember all the pain and disaster that had happened from going
Mhm.
into a bender where you were in it for so long that you took away your prioritization, you screwed up your chance on a test, all that, and plus the shame that's leveled on top of that. We have to always keep that on the tip of our minds, and it's not always easy because you have to think about it, right? It's not there automatically. You have to think about it.
Mhm.
When you trigger yourself again and you get into that, you have to pull it back into your focus. Oh, if I
Mhm.
go down this path, even if I stare at this for more than a couple of seconds, if I go down this
Yeah.
path, I know what's going to happen. It's going to be too difficult to say no. And I don't want to
Yeah.
do this because it'll lead here. It'll lead to me feeling like crap, losing lots of time. My emotional state will go through cycles that I can't control anymore. And the lack
Mhm.
of control, this thing that you
Yeah.
realized yourself, Jake, the lack of control is what is going to end up happening. When you were
Mhm.
disciplined, when you were working out on a regular basis, which are all good things,
Mhm.
when you were staying disciplined is when you were in control and things were better in your life.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so when you start going down this path, when you let this addictive cycle start kicking in, you're
Mhm.
giving in to that lack of control.
Yeah. I mean, like, I absolutely hate this addiction, and I wish I'd never laid my eyes on on those magazines. And like growing up with my friends, like people don't find it hard to believe it. I don't drink, and I don't take drugs. I have never touched a drug in my life. My birth was very basically me and my twin brother were very lucky to be alive. But like I think what you just said there, 100%. About recognizing the triggers, and it's definitely I know by me doing this thing, about to indulge in this thing, the knock on effects that I'll have after, and even days after, it's almost like I'm hungover for days after, and the way it makes me feel, and I absolutely hate myself. And you know, I think that by me going to PA meetings, on Zoom and stuff, I think and getting to talk to other people who are in the same sort of situation, it will help me to understand and better myself. Um, yeah, what you were saying there, 100%. Um, uh, yeah, been able yeah, okay.
Yeah, Jake, and
I'm sorry.
I hope the best for your recovery, man. And I'm glad to hear that you've decided to take this step because it's huge. I would say this much: making the decision to not do this by yourself is going to be so much better for you. Because as you've
Mhm.
discovered, when you try doing it yourself, you only have so much willpower, and after a while, it kind of falls apart. And now I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you, Jake, so you don't get down on yourself. You're not alone in this, man. Other people have gone through this exact same thing. Like this process, it happened to me. I tried stopping before ultimately I hit my wall. I tried stopping, and then I felt things fell apart, and I stopped caring. I stopped caring. Despite the fact that I realized, just like you did, I realized that all these things were damaging me, right?
Mhm.
But because I couldn't cope with things anymore, I leaned back into the addiction because it's a very simple coping mechanism. The problem is that when you start leaning into that coping mechanism, it creates its own problems. Um,
Mhm.
and that's the reality. We start losing control out of everything. That's the nature of addiction. But I'm
Mhm.
happy that you've decided to take this, and it's going to be beneficial to you to start bringing in more people, even though you have your brother and your friend, but bringing in
Mhm.
people who are like me, where you get to talk on a regular basis, is going to be
Mhm.
extremely important into your recovery. Getting a sponsor as quickly as you possibly can when you get into these meetings. You don't necessarily have to do it on the first meeting, dip your toes in first. But once you feel comfortable with the group, go back and you say, "Hi, my name is Jake. I'm a porn addict and I'm looking for a sponsor." Those three things.
Yeah.
Say those three things, ask for the sponsor, you'll get one.
Mhm.
And then you'll have somebody that you can talk to on a regular basis and also building a recovery network.
Mhm.
And that
yeah.
recovery network can be your brother and your friend. It can be people that are inside of
Mhm,
your meetings who may not be your sponsor directly, but people that you can talk to anyway, or people like me.
mhm.
And being able, if you can afford it or if you have the accessibility, getting a therapist to help you out with this journey.
Yes, yeah. I remember, uh, I've seen all your videos. One of your videos, you're talking about triggers, and like, it was hurt. Is it hurt? Hungry, angry,
Halt.
tired,
Yeah, halt.
and halt.
Yeah.
Halt, that's it. Yeah, that so for me, it's whenever it's whenever I'm lonely, and whenever yeah whenever I'm stressed, and whenever I'm tired. For me, that's when that's when the trigger sets in, and even especially with stress, sometimes the smallest bit of stress, some days, boom, it just sets me off. That's me. It's just a trigger. It just sets me off. The smallest thing, even even a simple conversation with my older brother on the phone, or falling out with somebody, or being in a bad mood, or just something so small, or even having to do a task or a job, or my mother wants me to quickly nip down here, or some sort of. It's like sometimes I find any excuse to clear it out, and just complete. So it's when sometimes any little bit of stress, any bit of stress, and then I just indulge in it then, and that's for one of the triggers for me is, whenever I'm tired, or whenever I'm lonely, or whenever my mood goes, I just go straight back at it, and whenever I'm working out or run again, this helps me to not to keep those triggers at bay, and not fall into the temptation.
Yes.
But yes, I'll definitely be looking for a counsellor, and about those meetings as well. Definitely, I think it'll be very very beneficial for me.
Fantastic. And I have to, because we're running past an hour now. I've got to wrap it up, otherwise I'm going to run out of
Mhm.
hard drive space. Speaking of hard drive space, by the way, I could totally relate to filling up the hard drive. I mean, that's what got me in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah,
I didn't know how to stop, right?
hmm,
So
yeah,
you describing that scroll bar was like, oh wow, that's
yeah.
what a great description. I remember that. And you'd have to sit there with your mouse, and as you're doing it, you could just scroll forever. Yeah, I remember that.
Like on the keyboard, the little dash,
Uh-huh.
the little dash mark. That's how small, how thin it is. Oh God, and that's something serious there. That should be a clear indication. Something is really not that. It's really bad here, Jake. You need, and God,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Lead off with that story too. Whenever you get into meetings, I think you'll see a lot of nodding heads. Oh yeah, I would have never thought about describing it that way, but that's amazing.
yeah. I mean, I think when people be like, "Oh my God," they'll realize, oh, they probably, yeah, I can really understand, because that's how bad. Here's how bad my addiction was. In the folder, the little bar. Yeah,
For me, it was like I downloaded so much, like literally the computer would shut down because there was no more space to write to memory.
God Almighty. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
God,
pretty bad.
yeah. Uh,
Well, I'm gonna
God.
wrap things up, and I really appreciate talking to you today. I think this was really informative. Believe it or not, you talking about this helps me out too, because hearing and remembering some details that sometimes I even forget about. This is it's I think it's going to be good for people who are listening to this, that they're going to be able
Mhm.
to reflect on, and they're going to hear something that you said, and it's really going to resonate with them. And I would invite you
Yeah.
that if you ever do find a group that's nearby for you, that's in that area,
Uh-huh.
let me know. And what I'll do is I'll pen this video and just say that, if you're interested in, attending a meeting in this location near
Yeah.
Belfast, here's a link that you can visit, and I'll make sure that anyone who might be in
Yeah.
the vicinity who's watching this video can also get to that meeting as well.
Hmm, hmm. Like uh, there's I know that there's loads of more stuff that I would like to say and cover, but I have it written down. But obviously I don't have much time. But sort of, I hope that I've covered everything that I have. I know now in like a few hours' time. Oh God, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said that. And to say, hopefully we'll get in the future. We'll get maybe another meeting, and I can
Well,
maybe I can
we'll have you
you
back
know
on again, man. I have no problems with that. We'll go back on and we'll do another discussion because it would be great to hear, like, especially in another month or so, like, did you get into
yeah.
meetings? What was your experience like, that sort of thing. Let's just set up another meeting sometime and we'll talk about it and just, this will be your journey. We'll hear about how things are progressing for you.
Yep, no problem. I found the other two interviews of the other people really interesting as well, and really beneficial as well.
Fantastic.
Um, it's great work what you're doing as well. You know what I mean? You're doing this on your own free time, and I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Well, thank you, Jake. I am grateful that the materials are helping someone. But I do all of this. Once you get into the 12-step program, you'll discover what the 12th step actually is. And I live and breathe that. I really do believe that all the people who took the time to help me out, the very least I could possibly do is turn it back around and give back to them, right? And if you or anyone else needs help, I'll do whatever I possibly can. And if
Yeah,
it helps get you into a better place in your life, then it was well worth it.
yeah, definitely.
All right, man. I appreciate the conversation, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This is Jake. I
No
am
problem.
Road to Recovery, and thank you so much for listening in. If you like what you hear, subscribe, and I'll provide links above to my Twitter account. And if Jake has any information he'd like to share later on, I'll make sure I put it in the description below. Thank you for tuning in, and stay on that road to recovery.